Good morning, Linkon, and hello, hunters. My name is Mira, and this is LaDs Latest, the latest on Love and Deepspace. Good morning, hunters, and happy Monday. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. I know that I certainly did. Listen, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This LaDs Latest is going to be about as flashy as having a bunch of reports on our desk after a Wanderer's attack. It's going to be very text heavy. But I feel like it is something that is important that needs to be gone over, especially during these survey times. And I am hoping that maybe you guys will chime in and leave some suggestions of your own down in the comments. But first, we're going to go over some reminders, and then we're going to get into the protocore of the situation, or should I say Aether Core? Either way, it's important. So grab your favorite drink and let's get started. All right, so first on the agenda is the reminders, starting with the Spring and Flower event. It ends on May 18th, so this coming Sunday. We have about 1 day less than a week, which I think is plenty of time to still be able to pull on the event. And then we have the 10 Days with You with Xavier, which ends May 24th. Keep in mind that you don't have to log in the entire time it's going on. It goes on longer than 10 days. However, we have about 10 days left. So you will need to either start it today or tomorrow in order to complete it and get that 4-star. And then yesterday, the infamous Oracle of Stars started, and it goes for 1 week. It ends the same day that the Spring and Flowers event ends. And then today we do have the kitty cards extra coin drop and new pins. So make sure that you're completing your kitty cards every week until June 2nd. I believe that kitty cards is actually one of the main contributors to affinities being raised. It's a very good way to raise affinity, just because there's so many kitty pins that it's so easy to just raise up the affinity. So make sure that you're doing that as well. And going off of the dates and the reminders of the endings, this is just a quick reminder of what the calendar looks like along with both 2024 and 2025 banner list. We're going to have about 2.5 weeks before Caleb's birthday, which is a definitive timeline. So we could have 2 short-term ones in there. We could have 1 long-term one. I don't really know what they plan on doing. They keep the rumors that keep going around keep changing, which is why I don't like to go off of them. So I don't really know what they plan on doing. Again, I think that they may stick a solo in there. Whether that's for Caleb or not, I'm not sure, but I do feel that it's time for Caleb to almost get a solo. I know I've said it quite a few times, but Sylus around this time already had a solo or was getting a solo. So I don't think Caleb is too far behind on getting his here soon. I also suspect that Master of Fate is going to be coming up here shortly. I suspect that it's going to be coming after Caleb's birthday, just because that's kind of the pattern that they've been going with. However, we know that they could always change it up, so it could come before as well. But again, those are just 2 that could possibly be coming here in the near future. We should be getting an announcement for our next banner at the earliest May 14th and at the latest May 16th. At least that's when it should be. I know that with Rafayel's we recently had, where it was really close to the time where it was supposed to be released. But I do suspect that it's either going to be May 14th or May 16th. It's really going to depend on when they decide to let the banner go live, whether that's going to be on the 19th or the 20th. So just keep an eye out for that. I will be doing a LaDs Latest, obviously, as soon as it gets announced. So you can look forward to that from me with a trailer reaction and a banner breakdown. All right, so I've gotten into the more informative, I wanted to avoid saying less exciting, more informative portion of this video, which is going over the survey suggestions. I'm not going to go over all of the answers because most of the questions are really heavily dependent on what you feel. And I do want to stress that whatever you answer, I want you to go into the survey answering honestly about how you felt about everything. The only way they're going to get really good feedback from everybody is if everyone's just honest about how they feel about each of the portions that they talk about. So that's my biggest suggestion for you. Now, if you're not sure where the survey is located, it's up in the little top corner. It's a little like paper with a pen. It's got a red dot on it. Just click on that and it'll take you directly to where you need to go. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth into everything that I said. I do have my list, but it's a condensed version of what I said. If you are interested in a deeper version of what I had wrote in the survey itself, let me know down in the comments and I'd be more than happy to post that in the description for you guys. But again, this is just a broken down version of what I put. And when I do write out suggestions, I like to do a positive to criticism. For every one positive, I do one criticism, or vice versa. Because I feel that it's important that not only do they know where they need to improve, but they need to know where they have already exceeded. So for my list for the Spring and Flower event, which was the first suggestion box, I let them know that I wanted to take photos during that photo opportunity in the cutscenes or the little interactive scene when it changes to the camera. They didn't let you do that, and I was really upset about that. But I did really enjoy the stories, and I felt and wanted to continue to say that I think multi-banners should be used to deepen the relationships of MC and the love interests more deeply than the solos. I felt that this banner was a great use of that information, of sort of writing off of what MC and the love interests already had that were deep and trying to move that forward. I did say that I really enjoyed the cutscenes, the music, the scenery. I thought they were all well done. And again, I know that during Catch 22, they were already showing those improvements, but I felt this one really exceeded the improvements. I did suggest that during the cutscenes or the little interactive scenes, I wish MC's lines stayed longer or were voiced. I know that's something that a lot of people have mentioned a lot. It just is really hard to read them sometimes because they go so fast and I'm already kind of a slow reader. I don't know if you know that. You guys can listen to me read. I'm going to put a card up at the top so that you guys can go watch the Sylus, Valley Bloom, and Xavier's imprint videos that I've posted. But then I did say that the event was light but very meaningful, and the stories were very strong and genuinely highlighted MC's relationships. So that's sort of what I wrote for question 8. Again, if you want to pause or you want to take suggestions from what I've written, feel free to pause the video and you can read over them. Next was question 12, which was about Blossom Escape. Now, I did not realize that this game was universally despised. I don't know if I want to say I despised it, but it definitely, I thought it was just a me issue, and it didn't seem to be a me issue. This minigame was very hard to do, and not because it was a hard minigame. It was hard because the swiping mechanic I don't think worked very well, which I did put in my suggestion. Now, the first thing I did put there was, though they were not as deep as the cards, I felt the stories were very great. They moved the relationship forward still. And one thing I did enjoy was that they felt uniquely tailored to all of the love interests themselves. A lot of times I have felt in the past that the stories sort of felt kind of the same. They were all just kind of samey. But this one, each time I read a story through a different love interest, it felt very tailored to them. Specifically, Zane's felt very, very Zane-esque. Silas's was very Sylus-esque. And what I mean by that is that, like, Xavier's was about being in the forest and the amber. And then Sylus's had a lot to do with residents and using his power for, growing instead of destroying. And it just felt very uniquely to them, which I was very excited about. And I want them to continue to do that in the future. But the criticism I had was that the swiping in the mini game was tricky, and I kept hitting the pause button on accident, and it was very frustrating. So that seems to not be an only me problem. So I hope that if they plan on doing that again, that they either fix it or don't plan on doing it again. And I'm really glad I was not the only one that felt that way. Question 16 was kind of supposed to be an overall of how we felt about the multiple events that happened, but I'm more focused mine on the Spring Arrives event, which I actually really enjoyed the Spring Arrives event. One thing I mentioned was that though it was a very small event, it had a great reward system. I really enjoyed that they gave us an outfit, and I hope future events, no matter how small they are, kind of provide us with this like big reward at the end. It felt worth doing because I knew that I was getting an outfit at the end for one of the guys. But not only that, it doesn't feel bad either because they're in the chocolate shop, and I would love to keep, have that happen in the future as well, where yes, you get one of the outfits, but the rest of them are available for chocolate purchase. One thing they did mention was that they wanted to bring back old mini games. I said that I wouldn't mind if there were old mini games, particularly the cat one. But if they were going to bring back old mini games, that they should tweak them just a little bit to be based on the event. I don't want them to be exact copies, and I don't want it to be too often. I think if they mixed a good, between new and old, I think that would be, or if they can take an old one and sort of make it new again, I would be okay with that as well. I'm okay with them reusing old mini games. I just don't want it to be all the time. And then my biggest suggestion was that if they did want to reuse mini games because they didn't want to just use them, they could put them in the date section. I'm just saying, Infold. Rotate them out every 1 to 2 weeks, like the Senior Hunters Contest and Abyssal Chaos. I would be so excited if there was one. You could keep Claw Machine and Kitty Cards. I'm okay with having Kitty Cards and Claw Machine be the same. But if you could have one extra where it's just a rotated mini game, I would be so excited about that. So that was my suggestion about the mini games. So question 25 and 28 are both a lot shorter. They were just quick little, I actually wasn't expecting them to be in this survey, but they were. 25 was about the birthday event, namely I would assume Rafayel and Sylus's, because there's the only two that have gone on so far. And I didn't have very many suggestions, but I did have a few key suggestions on them. One of them was the smaller decorations were kind of hard to place and move around, particularly with Sylus's and the little like gems. I really wanted to do more with it, but I felt that they were kind of hard to move around. If there could be a zoom function, if there already is a zoom function and I'm just dumb and haven't figured it out, please let me know, because that totally could be the case that there's already a zoom function and I just don't know about it because I didn't try. But I did mention that I like that all of the love interests get the same event. because it ensures that nobody feels that they're being forgotten or there isn't enough fairness. Everyone gets the same thing. And I'm okay with that. I think it's worth having everybody have the same thing. But one thing I would like to see is that each year maybe they enhance or change it. Having the same kind of mini game for the blueprints. I like the blueprints and I like the cake and I want those to stay. But having different ways to collect those ingredients, I guess, blueprints, I think would be way more beneficial. It doesn't need to be like everyone is different. I think everyone should stay the same, but each year it should be kind of a different or maybe improved version of the mini game itself. And then question 28 was about the protocores. And really the only suggestion I had after I had messed with the protocore system myself was that I know that we have like an auto filter, but I think it would be really beneficial to have an autofill, particularly for people because right now you can do the best match, but it still has you select the protocores. I think if they just had an autofill like they do for the battle system, for the memories, I think it would just be a lot better, particularly for those who don't like battling to begin with. So that's the only improvement that I would make on the Protocore system, is just to have an autofill rather than a best match option. Okay, so I know that there is a lot on this page, and please feel free to pause it, take a look, write down whatever you want to do, because I know there's a lot in this. But this is my page for the other suggestions. The box at the end of the survey that they provide that sort of says whatever else you have or need or want or you suggest, put in this box. And I have a lot, but I promise that they're only quality of life items and there's not anything like super deep about it. It's very surface level, but it's things that I feel that could improve the game in the long run. I have one for battle, schedule, love interests, and then whatever didn't fit in any of those categories. A lot of the battles stuff is just simple quality of life stuff. I would prefer if they alternated between Abyssal Chaos modes, between Finding Chaos and Final Farewell, and kept both of them capped. So switch them every 2 weeks, Finding Tobias 1 week, Final Farewell the next week, and then just keep them capped. And then on top of that, reset Abyssal Chaos every 4 to 6 months, or however long it takes to complete both of them to get to the 200 cap. That way it kind of keeps it fresh. They don't have to have a new story every week or every 6 months, but just resetting it so that it goes back to 0, I think would be beneficial. Not the codes or anything like that. I don't think that they should reset the codes. I just think they should reset the cap. And maybe the character genes, but mostly just the cap on that. New bounty hunts, and on top of that, new bounty hunt levels would be really awesome, and no hunt zone protocore levels. I would really love to have more of those. My biggest, and I know I've said this a few times, but my biggest one, dungeons. I would love dungeons in this game. Not only could it provide another way for there to be grindable diamonds, but come on, that would be so fun. I'm a huge fan of dungeon running. I love the dungeons in Infinity Nikki. I love dungeons in Final Fantasy. I love just doing dungeons. They're my favorite thing to run in games. So I think having a dungeon that's like the N109 zone or Mount Eternal or Starfall Forest or anything like that, story driven or not, it would be a lot of fun. It could open up a bunch of achievements, a bunch of ways to get diamonds. I just think it would be a lot of fun. And then the last one for battle is increasing the diamond rewards every 10 levels for orbit trials. I know currently that's a big issue. And one thing that I do agree with is that the higher up you get in the orbital trial, I do agree that you should be getting more diamonds the further you go. The second one is schedule. Now, I kind of wrestled with this one just because I could take it or leave it. However, I get both sides. So I decided to put it in my survey anyways. One, I think they should release the main story updates every 3 to 4 months. I am hoping that once the last love interest comes out, that more story updates will occur. I don't know if that's the case, but I think once the last love interest comes out, that they should add, or they should start doing the main story quest a lot sooner, or a lot more often. And then having a schedule at the end of the month. It doesn't need to be which characters or what the featured characters are. Honestly, I think just having whether it's going to be a solo, myth, multi, but leaving out who it's going to be and the theme could appease a lot of people. Now, adding who it could be additional help. I could take that or leave it. I'm not against them having like a schedule of featured banners. I just don't know. I don't want to know what the theme is. I'm going to be honest. I love when the theme is kind of a surprise. Would it be nice to know whether it's going to be a solo, myth, or multi? Yeah, absolutely. But again, I can take it or leave it. However, I know enough people have said that it would help them out that I'm not completely against it myself. The third one is the love interests. These are very silly, very not drama related at all. Let me sit in the chair with him. Please just let me sit in the chair with him. I would love to sit in the chair with somebody. And everyone says it too. Like Rafayel at one point says, this chair is big enough for both of us. Or Xavier says, why don't you come sit down with me? You know, or I think Zane even says it. He says, come sit down. I would love to. Please let me sit down in the chair with them. Another thing I wanted is offer environments beyond the cafe. Maybe even have weather that affects where you can go. I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe not the weather. The weather might be too much of a 5-head move, but I think more environments outside of the cafe would be a lot of fun. And then I'm a nap taker. Can you give me a quality time where I can nap with somebody? I would be so happy to have a nap with like Zane or Sylus during the day. Like that would be kind of cute. Might be a little delusional, but it can't be any more delusional than like the voice lines of telling them that you love them. So, you know, it's there. And then the etc. is just, again, things that didn't fit in, but people have suggested. Make Illusio permanent, please. I would love to have Illusio permanently. Don't separate hair from outfits. That comes from Catch-22. I still agree with that. I'm going to stick with that. One thing that I saw somebody mention is voice MC in tender moments, not secret times. The secret times is the ASMR. The tender moments is those little stories. And the reason why this was brought up is because tender moments can be played in the background, but you're only getting one side of the conversation. You're only getting the love interest side of the conversation. So I think having the whole thing narrated, since it can be played with your screen off in the background, it would be really beneficial if they went through and just narrated the whole thing. Going off of the secret times, making a playlist for secret times. Again, you can play secret times at night in the background with your screen off. I've done it before. But being able to make a playlist so that you have multiple guys, if you're like a harem girly, it would just make it a little more functional for those who like to have multiple guys, or like the Apple Crows, or, you know, Xavier, Rafayel girlies, or whatever. But having a playlist so that you could create that and listen to multiple guys would be, I think, a good quality of life thing. More dates and mini games. I've already mentioned that earlier before. And then increasing the player level from 80. I know it's been at 80 for quite some time, so having that increased would be super helpful. We made it through. I hope that for all of the information that you guys just received and got thrown at you, that you at least retained some of the information, or you found something that really resonated with you. Ha, resonated. If there's anything that you would like to see added or improved, or maybe you had some suggestions that you didn't see on my video, I'd really love to hear them down in the comments. So please take the time to do that if you want. If you aren't aware already, I do stream every Tuesday on Twitch and YouTube at Noon PST. I do stream LaDs. I also have an Instagram where I post nearly every day. If you haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel as well. I'd love to see you guys around. But other than that, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your week. Keep an eye out for my trailer reaction and banner breakdown once the announcement happens. And as always, stay safe out there, hunters.